And not just from Dan Besbris, from my dog, Diego.
Oh, you mean from an actual dog? I went silent there for a minute because I thought you wanted to open the show with a Bruski dog sound. There's the one. I splashed something on my glasses right before we went on air. I took a sip of let's play what beverage is in Dan's glass.
Yeah, you drank it over there, Dan?
It's apple juice.
That's still, you know what? You can still hang out.
Sometimes you just feel like a cup of apple juice. I don't know why.
It's sweetness. It's the
yeah. I do like sugar. So well, hello everyone. First of all, welcome to the Waiver Wire show, the weekly lineup show, and parts of this will also make up Fantasy NBA Today. So this is the trifecta, man. We got all sorts of stuff going on. I am Dan Besbris, and he is Aaron Bruski. And before I get into my take on apple juice, which I know is why everybody's here.
Dan, hot take.
Happy holidays, Brew. Almost Merry Christmas. What's going on, man? How's the fam? What's happening?
We're right in the middle of the festivities. Behind me, I kind of wish they would just bust through the door like that one lady did when the guy was doing his news hit and it was viral and she dove across to get the kids from entering the scene. That was the best thing I'd ever seen, I think. So no, they're preparing the food. So, and our little dog will probably start barking throughout this broadcast. So, sure. Professionalism first around here. No, we're good.
Authenticity is above professionalism, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I guess as long as I don't let the dog in, grab the dog, show you guys all the dog, have them bark at you guys, and then we call that TV. I think we'll probably be doing okay.
Well, Gumshoe has appeared in the background of a podcast before.
Yeah, I mean, Gumshoe's got his own deal, though. Like, he's cool. My little yapping dog is, we love him because he's our dog,
We got really lucky. We got really lucky. Gummy is, like, almost completely silent. She barks, like, once every 4 weeks, and it scares the bejesus out of us because she never makes a noise. So it's like, what apocalyptic event could have caused this animal to make a sound? It's like a squirrel on a wire. It's something that she probably could have barked at 40 times between the last one. But that squirrel, that was, like Ralph. He's a real jerk of a squirrel. She was going after him. I got nothing, man. They're dogs. They're amazing, though.
Yeah, well, we got a special one.
Yeah.
We love him to death. Don't get me wrong. He's got a lot of character, So, no, it's good. So the festivities going on in the background. I'm still on the coffee and the flu meds and all that good stuff. So I'm going round 2 with the sickness.
Ugh.
Not fair, but whatever. Then we'll switch to eggnog.
Yeah.
And move into the craft beer. And we got a really good dinner. We got prime rib and shrimp, but made by people who can cook. I mean, so this is shaping up, and then we'll do some walking around the. There's a neighborhood here in Sacramento, nearby our neighborhood. We don't live in the fancy section, at least just yet. The 40s, where we'll walk around and look at Christmas lights.
There you go. That's all right. You guys are eating like a family that picked Spencer Dinwiddie up off waivers earlier this year.
Oh, man. You know what? You know how to make me feel good, Dan. That is great.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good for Spencer to hit some free throws at the end of the game. Like, I didn't get to see it, but, he's really struggled with his free throw shooting and efficiency in general, shooting the ball. He had a 5 of 7 night the other night with a steal and a block, and I was very just content with that. The steals and the blocks are his sneaky value, and and more so probably the blocks. But then the 5 of 7, he's not hurting you with the field goal percentage. So, but then he had a big night the other night. Was it 26 and 9 or something?
Something delightful. Something
awesome to be a hoop baller.
Yeah, hoop. We got good stuff. So, it's funny too. This is really good timing for this special show. A lot of people dropped questions in early and had to say, listen, I can't stick around to watch live, but they're going to be catching up on it later after the fact. So we got their word on that. Again, this is also going to be I'm gonna piecemeal it together a little bit. Obviously, people listening to the recorded version after the fact won't know how I pieced it together, but they're going to be getting a little bit of a free preview on some of the stuff we do here weekly for premium subscribers in terms of looking at weekly lineup situations, waiver wire stuff. Bruski does a waiver wire show every Sunday, usually in the evening. This one a little earlier because it is Christmas weekend. It's also birthday weekend. We haven't mentioned that. Both of our wives have birthdays this weekend, right? My wife's birthday is today.
That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, so you have to get. Well, you guys celebrate Hanukkah, so I don't know how you guys handle the gifts on that front, but we have basically. I have two big gifts that I have to get every year, and I gotta go the extra mile to make sure that it's birthday and also Christmas-y.
Ooh, tell me if you like this one.
Does a very good job of demanding this, so I don't have to think too hard when it comes to that.
You and I have a lot of things that run in parallel. I want to hear if this is one of them. So a long time ago, my wife and I sort of made this weird like semi-pledge that anniversary gifts would be very thoughtful, like create a gift type of thing, and birthday gifts could be more like you can buy something. You can find something on Amazon. You can go to a store or whatever. So it creates this separation where the amount of time and thought that goes into each one, it changes a little bit. It takes a little bit of the pressure off for one and raises it for the other. But then we've got the birthday holiday season thing all crammed together. So you can't just like line up a whole bunch of things that you quickly grabbed off Prime. Something in there has got to be like the thoughtful thing. Something's got to be the bot thing. Something's got to be, and lately, and you know, my memory is mush because especially once the kid was born, I can't remember anything. But I'm pretty sure that Hanukkah has been later lately, and it's it's a lunar calendar. Hebrew stuff is on the lunar calendar. It's kind of silly, a little bit dumb, and hard to keep track of, but we do it. Damn it. And Hanukkah this year was like the 10th through the 18th. I already forgot when it ended, like a little less than a week ago. So we've been doing this stuff. And so my wife's parents are separated. So that's two Hanukkah things on that side. My mom's side is kind of like the big side. So we've got that big one. And then my dad's side has a couple of people in Southern California spaced across LA and neighboring counties. So that one's a little smaller. So we have 4 Hanukkah parties that we have to do with family, and then I'm gonna get done with this nonsense. The birthday thing. I want to rant about one other thing, and this is obviously not either of our wives' fault, but there's nothing open the day before or Christmas Day. Our choices are extremely limited on things we can do to celebrate our wives' birthdays. How do I got like I'm fresh out of
you can do.
Yeah.
To sell. So okay, so I mean, you guys benefit, I suppose, then from having some availability, on Christmas, the 24th, the 25th, the 23rd. I guess it doesn't matter. You could probably slide into the 23rd, but that would require proactivity. That's rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing that she gets screwed out of every year is the big birthday party with friends. Where everybody kind of goes out to wherever. If you probably a bar when you're younger, and then I guess now it might be like a bar, but everybody can only last like an hour or something.
Shaking your cane. I can hear you shaking your cane at young people over there.
You know what? Man, I'm getting old. No, but that's what she loses out on is that big sort of wild, And there's no way to really make it up. Like every year we sort of resolve to try to do it in that time between Christmas and New Year's Eve, but that really doesn't work out. And then you get to New Year's Eve, and by the time you get there, everybody, of course, is making that a big deal. And once you're past New Year's Eve, everybody's just all party, and they just are let's lose 10 pounds and get all these things done on our list of things to do. So she gets a little screwed up there. I like your idea on the split of the anniversary versus the Christmas and birthday gift.
Yeah, it takes.
We've actually done this a little bit this year. We really focused on let's not try to surprise each other quite as much. Let's just get stuff we like. and I kind of like that. So maybe I'm gonna take your stuff and steal it, and pitch it and see.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make this a little easier on Christmas, but
the only way we ever dodged this bullet, and then we'll dig into some basketball. And it was tough because the first week of December is the baseball winter meetings, which I was generally at up until the last 2 years working in baseball. So that wiped out like the first weekend change of the month. And we managed to wedge a birthday party for my wife on like the 10th of December. And we sort of like, we jumped the gun a little bit. And at that point, we were like, you know what? We don't care. She gets screwed out of this. And the only problem there was the entire month ended up becoming her birthday. We were just like doing birthday things for her the entire month. And you can't set that precedent.
I'm stuck in that precedent, Dan. I'm stuck.
You're cooked, man. You're done. Stick a fork in Brew. Well, hopefully you from getting sick a second time with discussions of wonderful waiver players. So, Brew, you usually do this show on your own. I'm hopping in with you on this one. What's the format of your weekly waiver show? What do I need to know?
Usually I have an audio error at the very beginning of the show, then some sort of confirmation that said error is fixed. Then I actually will break down Floppy Divat's Chef Ali's article, and or in the past when it was somebody else, like say Zane was writing them, I would go through their waiver wire article and critique it. Really get after these guys. Now, I would basically just use it as a kind of a talking point to cover every single player in the league, it felt like, and then answer the questions as we went. So, no, having you around to filter through all that stuff it's good on me, man. The less talking I do, the better I feel right now.
Well, as my dad likes to say, my mind, it is a steel sieve. So let's see what I can filter through here. We actually had some interesting stuff take place, which was cool because when you and I did our Fantasy NBA Today live on Friday, it had been, by all accounts, a relatively tame fantasy week. And I can feel that. I think we can all kind of feel that when I'm not like, I didn't consistently scour the waiver wire this week. I wasn't just staring at the list of free agents for half of my day every day. And that means that there wasn't a ton going on. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose and a bunch of interesting names popped up almost all at the same time. And the biggest one, I think, the one that's been getting at least the most discussion from what I've seen, is Jordan Bell, who has just been incredible. And we did talk about him a little bit on Friday as a guy who has this infinite potential. He can just leap out of the building and it turns into fantasy stats, which is pretty sweet. And then he got a start and he posted a 20 and 10 game. And then he played 20 some odd minutes and he posted like 7 and 10 with 4 defensive stats. The Jordan Bell hype train is out of control. And I need you to tell me if we should just get out of the way of the hype train and let it go straight through the mountainside, or if it's about to crash into the mountainside. What do we need to know about Jordan Bell?
I think, well, obviously he's a must-own player and even a must-add player. I'm really, really excited about the way the Warriors are doing this. Now, keep this in mind here. When I say must add, I'm a little bit, I feel like, I guess maybe he has hopped Marquise Chris in a little bit of a way. We had that conversation last show. And he, with Bell, what we've seen is that he can get this done at a high level in 17 minutes per game. I'll give a big shout out to the entire, the Roto World guys, others around. I haven't seen it from Josh Lloyd and Matt Smith, but I presume that they're all over it too. I feel like the fantasy really nailed this one about, I want to say like a week ago. I wrote the thing, I think, but look, he's getting top 75 value in 17 minutes per game. And then the question becomes, can he keep getting steals and blocks, keep this calculus going? Because 17 minutes, I think we can say with pretty good confidence the Warriors want him on the floor for 17 minutes a game. They might pull him back a couple times if he gets out of his lane. Organizations that are playing for championships, when they have a player with his talent, they don't screw around. and say, oh, I got to earn your minutes. Well, Omri Caspi's out there, struggling a little bit, or, whoever in the rotation is not doing what Jordan Bell does, which is give them an incredible amount of athleticism on the floor. He's a defensive-minded guy. He's shooting 70% from the field. He's passing the ball. I mean, it's really cool to watch a good organization nail a pick like this and really send a message to the rest of the league, like, you guys are not on our level. I mean, we're nailing second-round picks here, and you guys are all dorking around doing not as good stuff. And so, yeah, I think, I would probably flip-flop it just because, with Chris, he's obviously struggled a ton. And yes, Bell will have minute challenges. I mean, I think that goes without saying, playing for the team he plays for. And yes, these guys have been out, and no, it won't be this great for, we're looking for, can the 17 minutes per game generate those like 3 blocks or probably 3 combined defensive stats? And I think they can. That's all he's focusing on while he's on the floor, and he's going to get other stats just by being out there. So this is a really cool thing, and I think he's a must-add player, and I would flip-flop that and put him ahead of Marquise Chris because I just think the momentum is there for him. Marquise Chris, of course, can, play terribly and sort of fall into top 150 value, as long as he's not as terrible as he has been, and if the Suns can get their heads out of their cabooses, so there's more upside with Spites, I think, or probably with Spites, with Chris. Why would I get those two mixed up? I think that Chris can, eventually they got to decide, if you trade your entire first round, to get Marquise Chris, are you really going to just let him get, tossed to the side by Triano? And that's, the big question there. But yeah, no, Jordan Bell, big thumbs up.
Well, you mentioned Mo Spates, but either by accident or on purpose. You're Freudian. Take us over.
That is like the least. One of these things is not like the others. Like,
yeah, but you did. Maybe in the back of your mind, you were like, next place I want to go is Orlando because Nick Vucevic broke his hand. So that's
maybe that makes sense, Dan. I'll take it.
I did the nearly unthinkable and picked up Bismack Biyombo basically anywhere I had somebody I could drop. I don't know what to expect out of it. I'll be perfectly honest. He played 24 minutes yesterday. Would he have come back in the game if it wasn't a 27-point blowout? There's a possibility of that. They sort of don't have any other centers out there.
I mean, they could limit his minutes and try to run Aaron Gordon out there at center or Mo Spites, give him sort of the 18 minutes that he tends to get whenever he gets maxed out. Make that the same. I don't think they can do that. If I had to project, I'd go 28 minutes per game for Biyombo, and then they just run ridiculously small for the rest of the time out there. Biyombo's percentages are really what's limited his value. He's struggled to keep his block totals up. What we would be hoping for would be late season Toronto Biyombo, that essentially got him paid. I also have made moves to add him. I have got a waiver wire decision here later tonight, and I'm sure the bidding will be big for him. One thing that I've noticed about hoop ball builds is that we do well in percentages. So you might consider that as a bonus for what Biyombo could do for your value. Because if he's hurting you there and you're strong in those areas and you can sustain, some of what he does to chip away at that, then I think you might actually get a little, extra round or two out of value. I don't know that I'm making a huge bid, but he's definitely a must-add player, I think.
Yeah, it seems like there's very few things. I was trying to pull up some of his older numbers to see like maybe what we could potentially compare it to. He had one game earlier this year where he played 27.5 minutes. He had 8 and 8 with 3 blocks in that ball game, which is pretty good. I think if he gave you that, you'd be pretty satisfied, wouldn't you?
Well, and here's another thing to kind of maybe put this in a better light for him and his value. He has always in Orlando been kind of an odd man out. Like now that they need him and he can kind of play freely without worrying about, okay, am I struggling? Am I going to get benched? You know, that might turn some things on and make him a little bit better than what we've seen, because he's never really had that there. And yeah, there's been given an opportunity and not perform. So I don't want to just make this seem like, oh, he's never gotten the opportunity. He's always been, you know, subject to the log jam there. No, he's really sucked. Don't get me wrong. He really has sucked. But I think sometimes this has a funny way of working itself out when he can have those 28 minutes or 24, even if they limit him to that. Just looking at their roster, though, who are they going to play? That's the big question. I mean, you play most fights at center for longer than, 6-minute stretches, the defense just disintegrates. And so, yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah. So hopefully, you never know, I guess, that, even something in between a couple of years ago, Toronto, and even last year, Biombo, where you were talking about it, right? He stunk. They gave him a pretty good opportunity last year, and they sort of pushed Vooch out for a while. And they had 3 big men all trying to play the same spot. That didn't work out very well. And Biombo struggled with it. But there is always that weird little, that inkling, that feeling where if things start to break a little bit more right for him and he can focus a bit on getting some block shots, there's hope. But he is a 55% career free throw shooter, so he is going to hurt you there. The other name, I think that's, the question, I guess, was how much do we believe in it? And with every game, we almost have no choice but to believe in it a little bit more, is Isaiah Canaan in Phoenix, who now, over the last couple of days, has forced Phoenix's hand, and they've cut Mike James, who they released the Dunkosaurus to keep but a few weeks ago. I mean, okay, so forget what's going on in Phoenix, because we know what's going on in Phoenix, and it's a hellscape down there.
Hey, don't tell the Suns bloggers that. The Suns bloggers think it's all good.
No, come on. They've got to just be like...
I don't know if these guys just are they don't have a ton of followers, so they're, I got to imagine they're lower level bloggers. I don't know. They jumped all over me for my tweet the other day.
Uh-oh.
and I'm just sitting here. One of them tried to take a shot at hoopball, which was hilarious because, the founder of the site he writes for is actually a big fan, and he emails quite often, and we have a good time.
What was your tweet? What was the one that said
this is stupid? Dynamite. You release Mike James, who you basically, Derek Jones. I'm not caring about Derek Jones. I'm basically just kind of laughing at the hilarity of, you can't get rid of your logjam at center because you guys are so convinced Tyson Chandler adds value to your operation, or somebody doesn't want to look bad. And Tyson Chandler lays down the worst film that one can lay down, and you can't just cut him or get rid of him or move Greg Monroe. So your previous lottery pick, Alex Len, can actually get some kind of focused minutes, and maybe you can unlock your logjam between Dragon Bender and Marquise Chris and try to do some things with your roster other than watch TJ Warren and Devin Booker chuck bad shots until the cows come home. You can't figure that piece out. So you basically get rid of a young player who now is with their D-League team or G-League team, but he's not signed by the team. He could sign with anybody. And you bring in Isaiah Canaan, who's known for having 4 games that are great. And then everybody figures it out, and he becomes 13 points on 4 of 11 shooting with 3 assists. And everybody doesn't like to play with him because he's chucking. Now, to Cannon's credit, I think he's realized what's going on in Phoenix. I think he's seeing Tyler Ulis and going, man, that dude's confidence is shot. I'm going to go in and just, I'm going to pass. He's I think he's focusing on passing. He's kind of got the message, you can't be a chucker, the entire time. And that, though, is really hard. I don't think he's a changed player. And I think that there will be some regression. He has a stat set that's not exactly desirable. Do you want to take a flyer that maybe he's changed a little bit and can put together some complete, ball games? Yes, but with low expectations. I mean, we've seen Mike James come in look like a fantasy asset, and then that changes in what, a week? So Devin Booker is coming back. You think Devin Booker is going to let Isaiah Cannon run around with the basketball? Like, no. So I'm not. I think if you've got dead weight and you want to take a chance in a 12-team league, you could probably do that. But it's just something you don't want to have any real involvement with. And, as far as if you're hitching your wagon to Robert Sarver and Ryan McDonough, and you want to try to say that I don't watch Suns basketball, prepare to get smacked, I guess. I don't know.
So of the three sort of big name, low ownage guys that we've mentioned so far in the show, it sounds like you like Jordan Bell the most, then Bismack, and then Cannon, or do I have that out of order?
No, I like Bismack because I think he has a real defined 6 to 8 week window where, and the team would love for him to actually produce. That would make them look way less terrible for that deal. Like Cannon's window could end on Tuesday. So I think he's the bottom.
Bringing another point guard.
I know, right? Like, and the crazy thing about this is Tyler Ulis looked really good at the end of last year, and so I had one. He wasn't as obnoxious as the other guys, but like one guy was like, Ulis needed to be. They needed to bring somebody else in because Ulis wasn't healthy, and it's like, okay, well, if Ulis isn't healthy for whatever reason, maybe tell the media so people don't think that Ulis sucks, and, kind of be professional about it. And, if you brought in a guy because of that, or the injury doesn't play a part in it, and, Ulis has just struggled because playing next to Booker and Warren might be the worst assignment in basketball right now. I don't know. So, yeah, no, I think there's a large gap between Jordan Bell and Bismack Biyombo because Bell has rest of season value. Biyombo's window ends when Vooch returns, and then Cannon is a total crapshoot.
Last one I got to mention here, and then if you have any other names, feel free to throw them in, is Joel Embiid came back, and our boy Rashawn Holmes went sort of back to not playing. Are we resigned to the fact that we sort of need someone to be out in Philadelphia for him to get his chance right now?
Well, I mean, if we say yes to that, and then we just look at Embiid, he's questionable for tomorrow. I doubt he misses that game for whatever that's worth. I don't know.
Miss the next one. If he plays on Christmas, he'll probably tucker himself out.
Absolutely. Philly, they play 4 games this upcoming week, and then they've got 2 games the following week. So maybe they load up Embiid a little bit this week and, know that they've got some rest time in that following week. You also, after that week, I believe is it All-Star week early? I
think it's
my schedule grid is not pulled up because I'm trying to keep the internet
All-Star week
high.
February 12th through the 19th, that 2-week stretch.
Yeah, there's something in there. There's a scheduling issue somewhere in there. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, Boston and Philly have 1 game each the week of January 8th for some reason.
There's a 1-game week in there. It's not the All-Star week. I looked at that, and there's something strange about that week. We'll have to take a look at that. But yeah, I think with Holmes, this is going to get really interesting because of how public the Sixers are. And, Zach Lowe wrote about it. And when Zach Lowe writes, people start to listen. That Holmes and Embiid look great together. And he couched it a little bit saying, he's not sure that they should play together. I'll go and I'll just up the ante and say, this is a no-brainer that they look good playing together. That becomes now the question of why are these guys, Amir Johnson and Trevor Booker, stealing his minutes? And, I think that the Colangelos have a great amount of control about who plays and who doesn't. You look at Jared Bayless, and, you got Toronto beat writers who are very familiar with the Colangelos saying, hey, it's cute and all that you like to play Bayless, but, he sucks. And, so here go the Colangelos again. So they're going to play Booker. They're going to play Amir. And then as the Sixers continue to lose, how much do people start chirping about, why are you not playing this guy, Rashawn Holmes? So hopefully that happens. And the Rashawn Holmes owners, there's plenty of us around here, we get some unfettered runs. So we don't have to deal with 3 minutes as garbage time in a blowout. He looked great in all of his other action this week. I mean, there is not a bigger no-brainer in basketball right now than Rashawn Holmes needs 20 minutes per game, just like Jordan Bell's getting low minutes per game because they know he will be needed later. Rashawn Holmes should have 20 minutes per game. They can figure it out, move some guys around, but not playing him is just absolutely stupid.
Upcoming week is Christmas week. Want to remind everybody the games start early, first thing Christmas morning. So get your lineup set before you go to sleep on Sunday night. One team with a 2-game week, and it actually works out well because it happens to be a team missing their best player, and that's the Portland Trail Blazers. They play just twice this coming week. In fact, I think they're off until the 28th after their game yesterday. Damian Lillard has actually already said, I am definitely playing on the 28th. It's nice to have a guy who heals like Wolverine. Thank goodness. Because my team I'm falling so far behind everybody in my Roto League games played right now with 7 to 8 guys on the shelf. I really don't want to just plug some random dudes in, but it's getting very close to that point. But okay, my team isn't really at issue here. The Blazers with 2 games, even with Lillard saying he's definitely playing, what if something goes wrong? What if there's a setback? Does CJ McCollum make the chart? Who do you play on the Blazers this coming week, Brew?
Yeah, I'm good with CJ. My cut line's kind of top 30 for 2-game weeks. And then the more consistent they are, the better. And CJ, all NBA players have their ups and downs, but he's as consistent as I think you could expect. So I would go with CJ. I'd go with Damian. It's uncomfortable. You got to watch the newswire, obviously, but I think that the 2 of those fit the description of players that you want to start. After that, there's no other Blazers. And, quick note on Yusuf Nurkic. I think there's a lot of Yusuf Nurkic owners out there that want to cry themselves to sleep at night. He is really bad right now. In a 9-cat league, I don't think he's a must-own player. In an 8-cat league, I think you got to hang on because he's giving you enough value. He's a top 125 value in 8-cat leagues, and when you put those turnovers in there, he's outside of the top 200. It is brutal, and we had that conversation about 5 weeks ago about whether or not you sell high when he has his comeback lines, and we advised to sell high. I feel good about that particular basketball call, and it's. I don't know. I don't really have a great answer if he's actually going to produce this season.
I am going to toot my own horn a little bit and talk about how I spent a bunch of time in the offseason on Fantasy NBA Today discussing where I thought Nurkic would fall, and I was way lower on him than almost everybody I talked to. And I started to feel a little bit crazy, and I feel way less crazy now because you just can't sustain the energy level that he put together for that 3 or 4 week stretch with Portland when he first got there. And he's a stone-fisted fellow. Like, those things don't change. If you're a guy under the basket where a pass comes to you and you just bonk it out of bounds, Kwame Brown doesn't magically grow Kawhi Leonard hands.
I also think there's something to be said for this moving centers away from the basket and how it changes their mentality. And I kind of remember when I was playing, like I remember when I got out of the scoring inside mentality, I sort of lost my game in there. And it really sort of, you see it happen around the league. And the only reason I can even identify with it, because obviously I didn't play any basketball that's worth noting, but it's like you feel less confident with the various flip shots and the angles that you got to take. And, he's just settled for a lot of jumpers. And I wonder if it's sort of taken from the edge of I'm an interior player. This paint is my paint. I'm going to block that shot. I'm going to get that steal. I'm going to get that board, and really carve out that interior space. It's a mentality thing. So there's some linkage there. I'm not sure how you would quantify that, but it feels like it's there.
What about some of the injured guys for this coming week, Brew? We've heard that Steph is basically out for Christmas Day. The Warriors are sitting on a 4-game week. Any chance he plays 3, or are we looking at 2, 1, or 0?
I think that Steve Kerr is great. I think he keep an eye on your mail, man. Steve Kerr is great, and what he's done by saying it would be irresponsible for him to let Steph Curry play is he's kind of taking a shot across the bow at Steph, saying, hey, look, I just put myself out here saying it would be irresponsible, so don't even think about trying to come back and play in this game. I watched him do some workouts via video over at NBC Sports California, and he has pretty good motion right now. Like the stuff he's doing as far as an ankle injury goes, he's got a lot of quick movements and stops and starts. And so he's pretty close. I would say maybe, just maybe, Kerr is laying it on thick and is willing to back off. Maybe there's like a 10% chance he plays for Christmas. But I think he's close. So with 4 games, I'm going to put him in a lineup, I think, barring anything weird where you're like, okay, all right, are they going to do this like the Spurs are doing things? But with 4 games, I mean, you got, say, call it a 3-game week. That's fine. A 2-game week is fine. Hell, you could even make an argument that Steph Curry in a 1-game situation might just have one of these gonzo lines that, would actually pan out better than whatever your worst player is.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing and also kind of true. Other injured guys that maybe you're trying to make a start-sit decision on, Brew. Anybody on your own team that you've been sort of mulling?
Oh, yeah. Like James Johnson's going to be a tough one, I think. He came back, played 8 minutes, 9 minutes in his return game. What I thought was encouraging about that is he did it sort of for the team, not to get all narrative-y, but that they let him back to do it. I think they knew he was not at 100%, and they knew that they could have this time off here before their next game to get him back into shape, almost treating it like a workout, if you will. He left the game and sort of aggravated the injury, but there's not a lot of concern around it. He, at a 3-game week with a questionable sort of tag for that next one, I think will be a tougher call. I might opt against it. It seems like that might turn into a 2-game week pretty quickly. And then with that, you're looking at a top 75 player that might not, with injury concerns, that's not a great calculus for lineup decisions. Goran Dragic was one of those guys last week where he burnt you. But hey, the Heat are, subtracting players left and right. And, Tyler Johnson is not terrible at basketball. Who'd have thunk it? They're, going to be without Dion Waiters for a significant amount of time, it seems like. That's opened things up. I think, Wayne Ellington's a guy that owners could be looking at right now as a 1-week solution, even in a 3-game week. Then you got Tyler Johnson, I think, is somebody that you want to kind of consider as a late-round value for the next, say, 4 to 5 weeks, I think is what his window is. Josh Richardson's obviously going to be great now that everything's cleared out for him. Dragic might be a tougher sit decision in a 3-game week because of the elbow. Doesn't seem great. It does seem like he could use some rest. Now, will they give him rest when everybody's banged up? We don't know, but it's to his shooting arm. So his top 50, 60 value in a 3-game week might translate more like top 90 to 100 value in a 3-game week. And that, if we're sure he's playing, I think he survives in a lot of my lineups, but otherwise it could be a little bit of a tougher decision there.
All right, let's take a few questions. We got, as I mentioned, a handful populated before the show began. And to those of you that posted them, this is the part you were waiting for, I guess. This is something we do, by the way, to those of you that are enjoying this kind of free teaser as well via the recorded edition of the show. We do take questions from the YouTube channel. That happens on every premium video. And it also happens on our free Friday live shows that Brew and I do. So if you're not a part of that, and I just knocked over my glass, spilled apple juice everywhere, and scattered some glass right below my feet, so don't let me put my feet down the rest of the show. This is live, baby. Jim Collins got it started.
Yeah.
I'll clean it up after. The computer is elevated off the ground. What could go wrong? Wilson Chandler or Taj Gibson for this coming week? Wilson Chandler has 3. Taj has 4.
Taj is rocking at about a top 80, 90 level. And that's, in a 4-game week, that's pretty comforting. I think, we haven't seen the Tibbs minutes pile up just yet to where he's reduced his effectiveness. As far as Wilson Chandler, he's been good lately. That's encouraging. 3 games and not a lot of faith that he can, or I don't want to say not a lot of faith. I'd say there is some question as to whether or not he can keep it up. So also probably more susceptible to injury at this point than Taj Gibson. So, I'm going to drag this out just a little bit longer so I can see that Dan has got the apple juice cleaned up. That's what happens when you drink too much apple juice during the show, Dan. You just start getting, a little drizzunk, and you end up spilling and breaking glass and frankly scaring us because, what's going on over there.
I just wanted to give everybody, this is the remainder of the glass that used to contain my beverage. It was delightful. Oh, and my wife just threw a towel at me, so we're good on that front. Merry Christmas, everyone. What's the next question in the chat room?
You know what? That's making it in the year-end video. You with the broken glass, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Kawhi Leonard or Taurean Prince?
The old Kawhi Leonard question. 3 games, so let's call that. I wish that I had this up right now just to see which ones are back-to-backs. I'm going off memory. They're not back-to-backs, and they're I'm going to give him 2 games this week. And the minutes thing, let's put a minutes on it. I'm going to give Kawhi Leonard 50 minutes, which effectively makes it a 1.75 game week. The other player was who again?
Taurean Prince.
Yeah, Prince. In a 3-game week with Prince at about a top 80, top 70 level. He's gotten some bad games out of his system over the last 2 days. So it's possible that he picks up the pace a little bit. I think I'm going to go Taurean Prince, who is a poor man's version of Kawhi Leonard. And I think just by virtue of him getting 90 minutes compared to the 50 minutes, I think that that's a pretty good bet on the Kawhi side. And it sucks, I know, for Kawhi owners. They're waiting way too long on this pick, and it's not going to pan out in terms of season-long value in relation to the ranking on the B150. We gambled. We lost. For playoff owners, it'll be a lot better than it will be for roto owners. But Kawhi, they're just kid gloving the crap out of him. And the good news is he's looked pretty good, when he's been out there on the floor.
Gary Harris with 3 games or Spencer Dinwiddie with 4?
I think that Dinwiddie with the 4 is going to pan out here for folks. I think the best is yet to come for Dinwiddie owners, actually. Like, once he is able to establish a little bit more consistency and maybe even some respect from referees, like, that's going to be a big deal. It's also getting his team to play more consistently while he's on the floor. They're still kind of feeling out how do you use Karis LeVert at the same time, and some of these other players like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who have these herky-jerky games, and it's not quite at optimal level. And I think when it does get to optimal level, he's going to click into, say, 42, 43% field goal shooting. I know the free throw percentage will improve. And then he might even learn how to conserve his energy a little bit more so he can continue to get the defensive stats. So I'm going to go with Spencer Dinwiddie, 4 games, final answer.
Rest of season, who would you rather have, Kevin Love or Rob Covington? Love or Cov?
I love both of them now. I think things could get a little bit down for Kevin Love here. And Covington's been good. He's also a little bit of an injury-prone guy, but Covington is almost like the glue to that team. He, without him, things get weird with lineups real quick. I kind of want to bet on the player that is more likely to play through the end of the season and not be held back because of rest, down the stretch. I'm going to go Bob Covington here.
Oh, Rob Cov. Okay, well, you picked Covington then, so I'll stack him up against the next guy. Jim Collins has us going in a little round robin fashion here. Rob Covington or Aaron Gordon rest of season?
I think you got to gamble on Gordon, especially now that I think internally they're going to all know that this season now becomes about Aaron Gordon and seeing what can you get out of him as a premier interior player. This injury to Vucevic is going to maybe even just sort of accelerate whatever remaining timetable he has. Now, they might play it more safe because they're definitely not making the playoffs. I think it's going to be pretty tough for them to do that with the squad that they're throwing out there. But they can make that the focus of their season, and then you can start to see Aaron Gordon kind of on steroids with the interior play, keeping the percentages in the right places, steals, blocks, boards, and points, and the threes. I think you got to gamble, even though it might not feel comfortable.
Bruski, I'm parched. I need my beverage.
You stop drinking so much juice.
I collected some of the shards in there. I'll deal with the rest after the show's over. I just wanted to get the ones out.
I'm pretty sure you threw that down angrily over one of my bad takes.
It was all about my Rob Covington hatred. All right, what about this trio of guys? This question is from our boy Chung Lam. Gary Harris, Otto Porter, Isaiah Thomas, rest of season. How would you rank those three guys?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I'm going to go with Porter because, he's not going to deal with missed games, too much, at least as far as that we can predict. Isaiah's return, if this question was asked 2 weeks from now, I'd probably put him at the top. And then our other cat was who again? It's
Gary Harris was the other
Harris, because he's off the radar, or he's behind the other two significantly.
Austin Rivers. The next question is about Austin Rivers. It's from Alan Fang. I know Austin Rivers is on a serious hot streak right now, and he certainly. But do you see him maintaining 12-team value over the rest of the season, with news that Blake Griffin might be back within the next 1 to 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think he will. It's obviously going to get worse as the season goes. You get Gallo back, and then I think that's going to be the kicker for him. Also, trades. They're susceptible to a trade, and if you bring any talent back into LA, then it gets tougher for him. But as it stands, he's just it's got to be weird for a lot of people that crushed Austin Rivers for years and have crushed him for years to see him popping off with 36-point nights. That's you don't just do that and not be good. So we've seen him be good since a couple playoffs ago. Not a great stat set, but definitely a sell high moment. Like right now, if you can get any top 75 player in return, that's an insta deal. I can make an argument for any well-positioned top 100 player, make that deal. And you've got maybe 2 weeks to do that deal.
Larry Nance, Yogi Ferrell, Lance Stevenson. How do you feel about these three guys? Sort of short and long term. How would you rank them?
Stevenson's off the grid. No matter what he does, he can't really be considered seriously. Yogi Ferrell might have some angle there. I just don't think we should be counting on that, even if we say we call Seth Curry out for the season for whatever reason, which is not the case. Then I think Ferrell would have trouble finding value next to Dennis Smith Jr. And then our third guy was who again? It was
the trio was Lance Stevenson, Larry Nance Jr., and Yogi Ferrell.
Yeah, Nance is an amazing. It's funny. I thought Nance had been falling off. I've always been, and I've heard you say this as well. I could just pull that out of my back pocket and say, oh yeah, Larry Nance top 100 value, and just know that that's where he is. And so he's struggled a little bit at times and been off the box score. And I thought, let's just double check, make sure Larry Nance isn't way out of the top 200 or something. And he's right there at top 100 doing what he does. It's probably a weird math thing where he's not hurting you in certain categories, and there are players that because they hurt you, they fall underneath this magical top 100 line, some mathematical phenomena that we're probably never going to figure out, at least not soon. But Nance is settled and going to stay in that top 100 because that's where he belongs. That's just his place.
We had a question about Jordan Bell that we knocked out with our stuff at the beginning of the program. So if you're tuning in late and you're wondering why we didn't hit that one, we did. We spent a lot of time on Jordan earlier in the show. Last question comes back to Kawhi Leonard. At what point do you think they finally kind of turn him loose a little bit? Do we see it by the end of January?
Yeah, I think by the end of January he'll be turned loose. There's a back-to-back in the first week of the new year, and then a back-to-back in the second week of the new year. And I thought that when they leaked saying that he would miss back-to-backs for the foreseeable future, there was a back-to-back when they leaked it, and there wasn't a back-to-back until the first and second weeks of January. So to me, that sort of indicates like why leak that if it's not going to apply to multiple weeks. So I think those 2 weeks, you probably still see some back-to-back restrictions. The big question is, can it be within the third and the fourth week where he gets eased back into full-time playing time? And I think if I had to guess, the end of January would actually be that time. It's not great, but that's what it is.
Right on. Folks, that was your combination Christmas weekend special, weekly lineup show, weekly waiver show, and a Fantasy NBA Today teaser. I am Dan Besbris. He's Aaron Bruski. You can follow us on Twitter at those same handles. This is, as always, a hoop ball presentation. Aaron, final thoughts before we take a couple-day break here.
No, just to enjoy this time with your families and, get into the spirit of the holiday season, whatever you celebrate, get the, get out the kind deeds, I think is a great one. You can go do a kind deed for somebody that you don't know. If you see somebody who's out on the streets, who's homeless, or, donating to your local charity, you could just kind of walk by, drop a $5 in their hand. It makes you feel good. It helps them out. And that is the meaning of the season. So that would be my final words. And then, really looking forward to this upcoming year. I cannot say it enough, in particular with everything we have going on here at Hoop Ball.
You said it. I'll second that. Aaron Bruski, Dan Besbris. We'll talk to you guys soon.